Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Naduhu wasta'inuhu wastadihi wastaghfiruhu wa umminu bihi jalla wa ala wa la akfuruhu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Arsalahu bil huda wa dinil haq liyudhhirahu ala din kullihi wallahu karihal mushrikun. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him, we seek His help, His assistance and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His servant and messenger. Allah sent him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth. And this way of life known as Islam will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. Amma ba'd fa inna asdiqal hadith kitabullah wa awtaqa al-ura kalimatu taqwa wa khayrul milali milatu Ibrahim wa khayru sunani sunatu Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ashraful hadith dhikrullah wa asanu al-kasasi hadha al-Qur'an wa khayrul umuri awazimuha wa shayrul umuri muhdatatuha wa asanu al-hadyu hadyu al-anbiya wa ashraful maut katlu shuhada وأشرف الموت كتل الشهداء وأما علامة دلالة بعد الهدى وخير الأعمال ما نفاها وخير الهادي ما اتباعه وشير أما الكلام. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the most truthful of discourses is Kitabullah, or the Book of Allah. The most trustworthy word is taqwa, or fear of Allah. The best of the community is the community of Prophet Ibrahim. The best way of life is the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The remembrance of Allah is the most glorious of all things. The best of acts are those requiring the highest degree of will and determination. The worst acts are those based on innovation. The best way of life is the one adopted by the prophets of Allah. The most glorious death is the death of the martyr. The most glorious death is the death of the martyr. The most glorious death is the death of the martyr. The most wretched blindness consists of going astray after finding the right way. The best acts are the ones that yield benefits. Best guidance is that which people may be able to follow. The worst blindness is the blindness of the heart. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna Allah yahmuru bil-adli wal-ihsani wa ita'i dhul qurba wa yanha anil fashai wal-munkari wal-baghi ya'idhukum la'alakum tadhakkarun. Allah commands justice, the doing of good, and liberality to kith and kin. He forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may receive admonition. فَمَنْ يُرِيدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. Those whom Allah and His plan will to guide, He opens their breast to Islam. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ حَقَّ تُقَاتِهِ وَلَا تَمُوتُونَ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. O you believe, fear Allah as He should be feared, and do not die except in a state of Islam. وَأَتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. And hold fast all together by the rope which Allah stretches out for you, and be not divided amongst yourselves. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nasi ta'muruna bil ma'rufi wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. You are the best of peoples, raised or evolved for mankind, because you enjoin the right, forbid the wrong, and you believe in Allah. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. لَتَرْكَبُونَ تَبَاكًا عَنْ تَبَاكٍ. You shall surely travel from stage to stage. I'll go on and read a few more. What then is the matter with them that they believe not, and when the Quran is read to them, they fall not prostrate? But on the contrary, the unbelievers reject it. But Allah has full knowledge of what they secrete in their breasts. So announce to them a penalty grievous, except to those who believe and work righteous deeds. For them is a reward that will never fail. I would like to read just the outline of from As-Sabiqun. This is Stages of Growth in the Islamic Movement, Part 1, May 1998, and June 1998. When I was looking, I said, well, that's 20 years ago. That means stages of growth in the Islamic movement. I'll read a portion of it. Surely you shall travel from stage to stage. But in the universe, there is a natural law that every living thing is created within certain or with certain potential and possibilities. Man being a part of this creation is therefore faced with the question, how do I develop to my fullest potential? So it says, in this newsletter we hope to answer several important questions, such as, what are the special habits, customs, and attitudes that will identify and set the Muslim activist or committed Islamic movement worker apart from the general body of Muslims here in the West? What type of internal environment, what type of internal environment is needed to sustain, support, and encourage the work of establishing Islam in a hostile environment? So this is what type of internal environment is needed to sustain. We always talk about protracted struggle. This is going to take a long time. If we're writing this article 20 years ago, and we was already into it 20 years at that time, you know that we had a vision of this thing taking a long time, protracted. So what's going to sustain that? They say if you're going to really do something in life, you have to have a definiteness of purpose. You have to have somewhere definite or close to definite, or some work that you specifically want to do. It shouldn't be vague, it shouldn't be unclear, it should be definite. And in order to do that, they say you have to have PMA, a positive mental attitude. They say these are two of the main characteristics. Well, how are you going to remain positive when the whole world of Muslims or Islam is under attack all the time? How are you going to remain positive when all of the major groups inside of the United States have turned their back and ran away from Islam? right? What are you going to do when the great personalities of Islam that stick to this deen are abandoned and left to dangle in the moonlight from a tree? What are you going to do? How are you going to remain inspired and motivated when a lot of this time you're going to do it by yourself? What are you going to do when everybody that you're trying to help runs away from you and act like they don't want your help? And everybody you're trying to enlighten do not want to be enlightened. And the people that you're trying to liberate do not want to be liberated. They don't want to be liberated. At least that's the way they act. So how are you going to stay fired up, juiced up, during all these periods of time? So that's what it's saying. What type of internal environment is needed to sustain internal environment inside of you, not what they're doing out there? What are you going to have going on inside your heart, your mind, and your being in order to sustain, support, and encourage the work of establishing Islam in a hostile external environment? What kind of nourishment and sustenance will be needed to enable the activist or worker to carry on a protracted struggle? We at the As-Sabiqun movement have thought long and hard on these vital questions. Working for Islam here in the West for the past 20 years. We was already busy 20 years then. We have gained a wealth of insight and experience, alhamdulillah, that will inshallah help us answer the question. Because our leaders do not speak of the war against Islam and the Muslims does not mean that it doesn't exist. The Muslims then was pretending there's no war. They had already met with Janet Rito, the Attorney General, and the Attorney General said, of course there's no war of Islam against our Muslims. That's what the white lady said. The ugliest white woman in the world, Janet Rito. They had a meeting with the FBI around this time, a couple of years ago. This lady having a lot of meetings. And the FBI said, of course there's no counterintelligence program. One of the Muslims from the AMC had enough nerve to ask, what about the counterintelligence program against the Muslims? Oh, of course there's no counterintelligence program against the Muslims. And they lacked that. They had a big thing in those days. What was it? Confrontation or cooperation. All the big groups. That was their banner theme. Why? Will the future be a future of cooperation with America or confrontation? We told them, you don't have no choice in this matter. They're going to move on you and you will be confronted. You will be challenged. They said, no, Lord, we're going to cooperate. Today, they are cooperating with their lips puffed up from being busted in the mouth, eyes half closed, you know, like somebody been in a fight, a big fight. Lips is all puffed up, one eye closed and the other eye they barely can see. This is a serious fight. And they, with all of that damage, don't think they're in a fight. They don't, this day, right now, you pull out your television, listen to your radio, and read the newspapers. The majority of Muslims, there is no war against Islam because they say that the First Amendment gives us our right of speech, press, and religion. And Imam over there in Sterling, the Sudanese guy out there at Adams, what's his name?
Masjid.
Masjid, that's him. Boy, look at here. I like Masjid because, see, I'm not going to go in order, but we out there with a box. You see them boxes, we just go. I mean, you know, we just go, we'll stand anywhere, in the street anywhere, we say, they say, Imam, we'll say you're a big time Imam and you're standing there with a box. Of course I'll stand there with a box. You know why? I'm not going to get too fat-headed and too self-assured that I can't stand out here with a box. So, we standing over there. They send the vice president out of Bangladeshi guy. Oh, Imam Musa, come on inside. This is on the first Jum'ah. Now, the second Jum'ah, they have 2, 3 of them out there. So, at the end, we went on inside. Imam Musa, you don't have to do that. What are your needs? I saw, shoot, we could get by easy with a working on our school. I said, 100,000 will be fine. Is that all? Now you got to remember now, they all Dallas, they got, I mean, I don't know, somebody said they have 28 satellites now. Is there something like that? How many?
About 40 of them.
First they said they got all Dallas is big enough as it is. Then they got the satellites. They said we have 10 satellites. I said, oh. Then the next somebody said, but we have 28 satellites. That's enough. Each of these satellites is packed to the hill. So a measly $100,000 ain't nothing. So I said, okay, we just put our boxes up and we come out, just that mobile, talk to the board, we'll hook you up. So I came back one time and it just happened to be a janazah. It was packed with people. So it was over and people were leaving. Masjid looked up and saw me and ducked. Ducked inside, and so I said, let me see. Oh, Masjid, I just saw you right there. All I did was park, and then now you're gone. So I went on in and I got on the elevator. You know, they ain't doing too bad. They got elevators in the gym. And I went up to the 3rd floor. And I turned to the right. And a Pakistani guy comes out and said, can I help you? I said, well, I'm looking for Imam Masjid. And he's not here. I said, yeah. I walked right around and walked into the office. Oh, subhanallah.
Oh, thank you.
So, we was talking about different things, and I said, of course, I'm there to see about the house y'all doing on the 100 grand. As today, that might have been 5 or 6 years ago. We haven't seen not a smidgen of that. But the point was, Imam Musa, we have to think about, here in America, about Dr. Martin Luther King. So I say, yeah. I said, which one? 1963 or 1967 and 68? The dream, I said, well, he said that his dream turned into a nightmare. That was 63. I said, have you studied Martin Luther King? Of course he hadn't. I said, Martin Luther King talked about America is the most brutal and murderous country he'd come in contact with. And they preach nonviolence to us, but are the greatest purveyors of violence in the world. And his lecture, Why I Oppose the War in Vietnam, was his greatest lecture. But of course, all his friends and all the Negroes that was with him left him because it made the white man mad. made old Lyndon Johnson mad. You see? So, I started talking about the Islamic Institute for Counter-Zionist American Psychological Warfare. He didn't want to hear none of that. Don't talk about that because if the board will not let anything go. So when you come here, you have to. I understand that's to be a bootlicker and stuff like that. And to this day, to this minute, they are out there waving the flag of peace and tranquility. That's the same place that they is coming from IHOP last year. Remember the little girl got killed out there? And they got a martial arts class out there. Good one look like. But they're not teaching courage. When they coming from IHOP around 3 in the morning, iftar, that's where they go for the early morning. The kids, it's good to go out and get around, it's no problem. But I heard one Latino guy challenge them, maybe a couple, and the guy killed the little girl, 16 or something. You know what the other boys did? They ran away. They ran away. Somebody is not teaching them about America. They ran them away. And they killed the girl, and still now, they never say, well, we've had the wrong attitude about America. We don't let the American people teach. They don't let the niggas teach them. If you in America, right? If you kiss them people's behind, they'll stick their foot in your butt. But if you stand up to America, think about any cracker. Hold it, cracker, just a minute. What is he going to do? I was just playing. But if you lay down that cracker, jump up and down on your head and do anything he wants, this is America. We know what we're doing here. Ain't nobody listening to us. My grandson, when he was about 15, I took him over to, straight over there. What's that other joint? Al-Hidri. He's been there a couple of times. Now he's 15, so him and all the kids are just roaming around the street while there's a big conference going on. All the kids out there somewhere. All of a sudden, here comes some Latino brothers, which they just doing what they do, on bikes. You know what the Al-Hidri kid said? Those are our bikes. About 3 bikes. My grandson went up to them and snatched them bikes and busted them guys upside the head. What are you doing? Letting people take your bikes. There's no one there. You know the guy that packs out there? You know what he said about your grandson? Is very brave. I said, hey, what are you talking about, brave? He confronted, I said, that's normal. What are you talking about, normal? Brave. Brave is something you jump off a building 17 stories high with a parachute made out of handkerchief. That's brave. But there's somebody coming taking your bicycle, and you say, hold it, man, what are you doing? It's my bike. It ain't brave, it's normal, isn't that right? That's normal. But they got millions of dollars, 3 and 4 Jum'ahs, and getting this mess slapped out of them because they're cooperation over confrontation. This is not new what we're saying. This is why we're writing this. This is part of our movement development. Because our leaders do not speak of the war against Islam and the Muslims does not mean that it doesn't exist. It is clear that the entire Western Bloc is employing all of its resources to attack, suppress, and destroy Islam. The Zionist state of Israel, the illegitimate child of American neo-fascism, has just celebrated 50 years of oppression against the Muslim people of Palestine. Just a look. Generally, most Muslim activists and Islamic workers, they operate on a high level of consistency for maybe 3, 4 years, 5 years, some even make it 10 years. But, and most of them are young. You know, think about the movement. This is the 50th anniversary of 1968. You think of the people that was active in 1968. By 1971, they was retired. If they're on campus, they all for in the 80s, Nicaragua, free South Africa, but that's the first 2 or 3 years on campus. After the 4th and 5th year, when they're getting ready to leave, maybe the 6th, they ain't running around carrying flags and jumping up and down. They're sending resumes and looking around, where am I going to work? And the longer they're in the work environment, the less revolutionary, the less conscious they are. So if you're going to work in an environment, a liberation environment, part of a liberation movement, you have to have some habits and some customs and some disciplines that are long range in scope. You have to have a certain vision about your environment and the people you're challenging. One of the things we used to say, some Chairman Mao always said, the West imperialists are all paper tigers. They're paper tigers, you know, like the Chinese have all the fancy stuff, Chinese New Year's, big dragons. He said the imperialists are paper tigers. So in your short-range planning and thinking, they are real live tigers. They kill you, they jail you, they run you crazy, they do all that. That's in the short run. So when you're dealing with this American system, in your short run thinking, you're dealing with him like he is now. He is a real tiger. He kills people all the time. That's what the CIA, the FBI, jailers, that's what they do. But in the long run, in your futuristic possibility thinking, you think of him like he's going to become a paper tiger. He's going to lose all that fire and venom. Now you look, we're writing this 20 years ago. You look at America 20 years back and look at it now. He's in transition from being a real tiger, evolving into a paper tiger. And here we are going through stages of our own development. How are we going to go all this time? What are we going to do to develop our own potential and possibilities? That's what we're writing about. In the Quranic ayat, we were saying, La tarkabuna tabakan and tabakin. You shall surely travel from stage to stage. You will surely ride from stage to stage. That's one of the other meanings. You will embark on a journey that will carry you from one level after another, one stage after another. And we always say, Rabbil Alameen, right? Rab. What does technically Rab, its characteristics? You're created, of course, but Rab nourishes you alone, feeds you, sustains you one stage after another till you reach a stage of excellence. Rabbil Alameen, the Lord of the world. That's what Rab does. Rab keeps you going step by step, stage by stage. Evolution after evolution, transition after transition, transformation after transformation till you transcend the gravitational pull of the things that hold you down. That's what Tazkiyah does nafs is. The purification of nafs. In order to fight the monster, you're going to have to be a good person. This is what they did to us, you know. A lot of people wonder, well, what happened to all our big movement people? Well, I'm going to tell you, because I was there right along with everybody, right in the front seat from the very beginning. I'm glad to be here now. But if a partner of mine, the great chief of the great underground army, gets out of prison a year or two back, good to see you. Hey man, I want to get in something. Well, you know, sometime after 25, 30, some years after the people turning their back on you over and over again, right, and leaving you to dry on the line, you lose your elasticity and your willingness to face challenges, your willingness to work for the people. What about when you love black people and you fighting for them, and everybody come to cut your throat is black? That's what they did to our leaders. After a little while, pretty soon, you give up on black people. That's a dirty trick, but it worked on everybody. It worked on literally everybody. You say, why should I help them, the niggas? Every time I get into trouble and call on them, they leave me overseas or underground, starving to death. Right? Which they did. The people didn't do it, but the people did not have good guidance. You know the brothers? I'll tell you what Pete O'Neill told me, if you've seen The Panther in Africa. Pete O'Neill took over the party after Eldridge Cleaver stepped down on the International Black Panther Party in Algeria. So Pete was head of security when I first met him. We was good friends. And some people say that people used to fund the party a little bit. Not that they was from Oakland, we was from Oakland and all that stuff. That's not what I mean to say. But that was a suggestion made of how to make the party big and strong overseas. You have to have a source of money. Now the Negro don't have a lot of resources, so his idea was, well, make a drug cartel, and we got enough people here, we'll do that, and we'll put our resources together, raise the army over here, and come back and take over America. That was the idea. You know, when you're young, you think, yeah, we're going to go back and take over America. That was great. But a lot of people were saying, but they didn't really want to do that. They run away. They was glad to get out with their skin. So, anyway, one of the brothers, when he came there, he was already kind of a revolutionary gangster. And he noticed something about revolutionaries. They didn't have a lot of sense. They didn't have a lot of discipline. This guy that I'm talking about, he told him, he said, you can't go down to the Rue du Chemin every day buying hashish and have no revolution. See, in Algeria, you had all the revolutionary groups from throughout Africa that was not yet liberated. So that means Angola, South Africa, Southwest Africa, Mozambique, all those were still colonized in those days. Algeria and Tanzania, other countries had, they gave us, like when we was in Algeria, we were considered a liberation movement. Those governments, they were nationalists. They definitely, Algeria wasn't no Islamic, but it was nationalist. So as long as you was black nationalists, Arab nationalists, they was for you. So they gave an office, they gave you a little stipend, a little money, and they gave you training, because you're supposed to go back. All the Africans in Algeria and Tanzania got training. Tanzania gave 1% of their taxes, which wasn't that much, for the liberation movement. It was called a frontline state. It was a frontline state that was on the line that helped liberate the rest of Africa. So the party disagreed with that. We can't sell drugs and everything. So this guy, he went on to Europe, traveled around the world, Scandinavia, and he went on down to do his mission. He said, if y'all want to start a cartel, I'll start it myself. And the guy went down to South America, started the first and only Negro cocaine smuggling cartel in the United States. Now, not crack, old-time cocaine that rich people snorted. In our day, it wasn't no crack and all that stuff, and it didn't run you crazy, your eyes get all big and you're going around looking and acting like a fool. That was recent years. So the Negro hooked it up. When he came back to Algeria with buckets of money for the rebellion, everybody was gone. Go ahead, quit the revolution, forget it. They found the representative still in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, so he's saying. He said, well, what happened up in Algeria? He said, vagina. Actually, he said, pussy got us kicked out of Algeria. The stupid Negro. The stupid Negro, our older folks. In Algeria, now even in Algeria in those nationalistic days, probably 30% of the women wore niqab, old-time niqab. The Algerian, all white, white veil, not this black stuff. And the Negro was messing with those women. That was his favorite prize. And then, I don't know what the Arab was doing to the ladies, but the Negroes got hold to them, and the word was around. And Arab men found out about it, they kicked them niggas out. So, my friend is still, you can watch TV, go on the internet, still there, runs the Malcolm X Center there in Arusha, Tanzania, still there. So, man, what happened up there? He said, it was pussy got us kicked out of Algeria. The stupid Negro took his Negro. What I'm trying to get at is, why did our movement get wiped out so fast? No morals, no ethics, no discipline, no self-control, no focus, none of those things. So when the police came, there was a big meeting in Oakland one time. So they sent the sister, nice-looking sister, to pick up the big chief, mouth-running Negro. So, why y'all late? The brother ran me around the house for a half hour, snatching at my clothes. This nigga's supposed to be in a meeting. Black power, liberation for the people, and he chasing the girl around. This is the main thing that destroyed the female potential in the movement. The niggas couldn't keep their pants zipped up, and when they got hold of the women, they wasn't doing nothing to them, but for a minute or two, they should have just left them alone in the first place. Now, there was another Negro. The gangster Negro was 2 and 3 times as sharp. It was the first thing I realized when I got involved in the international movement. And it was not only America, it was the African politicians, all of them, because they were all in exile in Algeria. Even the big leaders talked more about going with girls than they did about getting back to the country and taking over. Nafs. That's why we always talk about tazkiyah bil nafs. What kind of training, what kind of self-control, what kind of discipline is it going to take for you and your people to stay focused on the work? And they're going to challenge you. If you're a Negro, the first thing they're going to send you is things that the dumb Negro like. I was telling brothers earlier this year, if they send another yellow girl at me, I'm going to cause a ruckus. Because they think dark niggas like yellow girls. Well, that might be true. I mean, arguing about it. But anybody got any sense and is not going to let anything he likes divert him. That's what tazkiyah bil nafs is. Technically, that's what this month of Ramadan is about. To fight the war against the doors of heaven are open and the doors of hell are closed, and the shaitan is tied up in chains. Why are he tied up in chains? Because everything that leads to problems, you're controlling. If you control food, sex, and all that, right, you're winning the war of tazkiyah bil nafs. So hell is closed because the things that lead you to hell, you got control of. The doors of heaven are open because of all the things that lead you to heaven, giving a little charity in Ramadan, fasting during the month of Ramadan, Taraweeh, Tahajjud, all those things that lead you to heaven, you're doing. That's what the hadith is. A lot of people don't know. The doors of heaven are closed during Ramadan if you're practicing it right. Because all the things that lead you to hell. And the doors of heaven are open, the same thing applies to the movement. Stages of growth in the Islamic movement. You will surely travel from stage to stage. You know what? It's sad, but our movement didn't travel from stage to stage. We got stopped at the first punch. The first punch they threw at us buckled us, literally every time almost. Because we didn't get a chance, you know what I mean? We didn't get a chance to develop. We just thought, you'll fight the white man and we gonna whoop this cracker. Now in those days, we used to think that any black could beat up 3 or 4 or 5 white people, which was, you may think I'm lying. In those days, you would never find one white man jump on no Negro. Not even 2. Maybe in rare cases, 3 crackers. But they'd be nervous then and heavily armed. They just didn't do it. You know why? Because niggas was tough. They was tough. So, but what happened then? We didn't get a chance to live long enough to develop. Malcolm X was on a roll. As soon as he get rolling, they kill him. Martin Luther King on a roll, but they 13 years apiece, 12 years, 12 and a half years apiece. By the time they get a feel for what it's going to take to get there, they're going through developmental child stages of enthusiasm, fear, paranoia. You see Malcolm with the gun in the window, the rifle? That's in the early stages. The police do stuff like that to us 50 times a year. It don't have no effect on us. Why? We've been doing this thing for 40 years and more. Well, if you take really the technical struggle, this would be the 50th anniversary because 68 was a big year for everybody. 68, and this is 50 years later. None of our people got a chance to last that long. You think I'm talking a lot of trash, and well, it's true, because I've had 50 years to develop. And every dirty little trick they use, it bounces off. It don't mean nothing. You know, Imam Jamil, a great friend of ours, you got to notice the difference between media Negroes, media Muslims, and real Muslim workers. Most of our brothers, Elders Cleaver and them, Imam Jamil, H. Rap Brown, Stokely Carmichael and them, all of Martin Luther King, all of those people were newspaper Negroes. They had their name in the paper all the time, and they could come and they could gather a big crowd. So everything was open and on the surface. That produces a type of euphoria, false euphoria. I remember one of the big meetings at the Infirmary Park, now they call it Bobby Hutton Park in Oakland. Elders them was there jumping up and down, and I had a crew, I told them, when the white man move on them niggas, it's all over. I hope they don't believe, because all the people, black power, all power to the people, free the land, all of that. That's what the crowd says. They like a choir. But when the cracker come, they fold up and they gone. One of the greatest things that I heard as one brother to another was Imam Jamil years ago. Now you got to remember, Imam Jamil was, and he is the lone survivor of the big, called the Big Four, right? Think about it. Malcolm X, right? Martin Luther King, Stokely Carmichael, and H. Rap Brown. Everybody else is gone. H. Rap Brown, Imam Jamil, is still alive. But he's rotting in prison. He's rotting in prison. You know, Imam Jamil got arrested in 2000. That's 18 years ago. It does. I wrote this article 20 years, don't seem like last week. But if you was in the penitentiary, that'd be a long 20 years. You see? Well, what happened? Something he told me when I visited him last, that was a long time ago. He says, I want to thank you for everything you did. I said, no, everything, we thank Allah. He said, I'm thanking you. I've already thanked Allah a long time ago. I'm thanking you. You didn't come down there and ask me what I need, what's going on, or nothing. When you heard what happened to me, you got busy. I said, well, I done had 50,000 cases. I don't have to ask what you need, right? But that's what everybody was, what you need, Imam Jamil, and everybody stalled on him so much, his own community stalled on him so long that they didn't do nothing. Some of them have been heard to say, MashaAllah, it was the will of Allah. One of the Negroes, the main one, I remember when I met him in 81, 82, 83, yeah. He was the Imam Jamil clone. He dressed like him, tried to talk like Imam. He was one of the Imams down there in Dixie, not far from here. So he's taking care of all the business. So this is only a few years ago, we're still raising money for Imam Jamil. Now all the other people with all their resources, all the big people in America and all them big groups didn't hardly do nothing for Imam Jamil. But we here, like the same crew you got here, we raised almost $300,000 cash for his case. All we did is took it down and left. We didn't want to stay around. All we did. That's what we did. We was happy to do it. You didn't have to ask, you know what, somebody said, well, Imam Musa got a passport and some money and a lot of things and was trying to help him escape. I said, I wouldn't do nothing like that. That's against the law. right? It's against the law. I happened to go down there with my family. Just we're driving down. And we had straw hats and stuff in the trunk. And people were thinking that I heard them talking that Imam Musa had money and passports, and he was going to take Imam Jamil right over Route 20, right down 37, right across the Mexican border, and go down a little ways and turn left and go 141 right into Belize. My country, right into Belize. That's what they were saying. Of course it's a lie. Who would do that? And the police is looking for a gangster, a cop killer. If niggas riding down in a car with straw hats on, they going south. I mean, looking for nobody, right? So, a few months ago, I got arrested twice in Oakland. I'm not going to go through all the arrests, but I'm arrested at gunpoint. This is the gunpoint. Notice the thing says an armored personal vehicle, a tank in front of the Masjid in Oakland. And the Negro then filed reports and said that just because Imam Musa bought the building and all of that, he is trespassing, is what he told police. And his came from D.C. We got the legal stuff that says it. I'll show it to you when you get ready. He come from D.C. with 2 shotguns and all. Now, what kind of nigga would tell on, first he lying on everything? Do you know how fast you'll get shot? So when I open the door to come out, there's a SWAT team. Then I look on my thing, you know them little red lights they put on you when they go. I use bad language, of course. You got this red, what are you doing here? I have the deed that I pull out there. But anyway, that happened twice. November 13th and November 17th. Now, I won all the case, and they said how wrong they was and all that. But you know what? Nobody did anything about it. Stuff happens around here all day. We was fixing on the roof on A Street. You could see the roof was pulled up, right? This rainy time. I didn't know the roof was pulled up all the time around here. There's something goes on all the time around here. It's natural. It's a part of the job. You learn to like it. But don't nobody else do nothing about it. They just look and say, oh, your car stopped. Then you got another car and you drove to Kansas City and it stopped. And you sent everybody home, sent all your books home, and then you started the car up and drove like a top. But you too late to get to the program, so you parked the car at the Kansas City airport, go out to California, have a program, and come back and pick the car up and drive. Cars don't operate like that. It won't go another block. But after you send everybody home and do everything, after messing with it for a couple of days, then after you've done all that, drive it all the way back to D.C. That's 1,100 miles. This stuff happens all the time. It's normal. Our people never got a chance to develop. It's a sad thing. The al-Islam movement, when Sheikh Jelani came over here in 80, 81, infiltrated the al-Islam movement, took the brothers up in the hills, teaching them Sufism, Come back down out of the hills, he done taught the military arm. And you know what, a lot of people thought that he just taught them. That military arm was already waiting for July to come. They was the police. Everybody was trying to convince me, oh, he used black magic. He didn't use no black magic on black niggas. He used every group we've ever had is so infiltrated with the police. But the Dar was not sophisticated enough. They just took over the movement. They tried that on us 10 times. Isolate you, cut you off, ain't nobody but there but you, and it's all of them. You know what I tell them? Y'all kiss my behind. We ain't having none of that up in here. You know why? Because I didn't come from a college campus. There's no newspapers reporting nothing. The gangster niggas was 4 and 5 times as smart as the college campus nationalist. Think about it now. In this street, you're a gangster. What's happening? Everybody trying to take your money, right? The police is after you. If you make one mistake, you're going to jail for a long time. And the niggas, if you make a mistake, they're going to shoot you, right? And the woman you got with now used to go with Johnny Boy, and Johnny Boy, where he keep his money? And she, right? Any mistake you make in that world is bye-bye, baby. Isn't that right? It's not like the brothers on the campus, they take a test, a revolutionary test on paper, and they pass. Right? In Jahiliyyah, our Jahiliyyah, do you get a paper test? No. And if you miss 1 0, you are a goner. You gone to the pen for 40 or 50 years. If you forget to protect yourself for 1 second, Johnny Boy and his homeboys has been watching in the trees and got pictures of where you're trying to hide your door, everything, right? Bam, goodbye, brother. That's what makes the gangster brothers 5 and 10 times as smart as the revolutionaries on paper. As simple as that is, that's why Ikhwan al-Muslimin, the Iranians, and everybody we work with, we're years ahead of them. You know why? They got their education somewhere else. And we've been fighting the white man all of our, you can't be wrong. You gotta be right all the time. Because anytime you're wrong, bye-bye, brother. Isn't that right? Nobody's gonna give you a break. And you know what? Don't nobody listen to Masjid al-Islam. No matter how much we tell them, we're in a movement beyond nationalism. You can't have your little stupid groups anymore. We came up through the movement too. You know, this group, that group, remember? But now we're beyond groupism. If you do stuff just for Jum'ah Islami, they're going to snag you. If you follow the Ikhwan al-Muslimin program, they're going to snag you. That's why they killed them in Egypt a few years ago. Why? Nobody told nobody except in this masjid, do y'all remember? There will be no Arab Spring. Y'all remember that? It won't be none. Do not take power in Egypt because you're a fool. Well, y'all, all our books was talking about the power and the rest, but not at this time. Why? Because you can't fix nothing in Egypt at that time. And if you gain power, they're going to wait 2 or 3 weeks or months and blame all of it on you. And if you can't fix it, even in a good environment, how are you going to fix Egypt with the Americans there? Causing trouble. With the Zionists next door causing trouble, right? So, you know what they looked at us? You're a bunch of niggas. You don't know nothing about the Islamic movement, these Ikhwanis and all these people, you know, they came over here talking about, we will send you a sheikh to help you with movement, because As-Sabiqun, we're kind of like Ikhwanis, kind of like Jum'ah Islamic, like all, you know, other movements. But we evolved from that. As-Sabiqun is not stuck in history. All the other groups, our great Iranian friends, we in a house cleaning that we have to, you say this man is a Negro talking about what we have to, you better know it, because we're right here in America. All the trouble for the people of the world, the Zionists causing the people of Palestine, to whether it's Iran, whether it's ISIS, Daesh, Saudi Arabia, and American Zionists are causing all the trouble in the Muslim world, aren't they? Every problem we have, they created. It don't mean the Muslims are perfect. It means that whatever small inconsistencies we have, the governments are going, they study us in detail and they take advantage of our brothers. And why are we here like this? We're here like this because all the other centers in the United States and here also have heard the message and decided we don't want to have nothing to do with it. If this confrontation or cooperation, we want to cooperate with America. And the Negroes, I showed y'all that before. I'm just going to, you have to excuse me for showing you this stuff over and over again. But this stuff that they showed, I have to do it to explain. I'm going to skip most of what we have today. But here's what it says. This is last year. Conference focuses on how social invisibility of African American Muslims led to psychological trauma and suffering. All the big Negroes, these included, the Muslims that are here know when we had meetings here, these people, even in our own masjid, they would try to exclude us from the meeting being held in our masjid. Now there are people here that know. We don't tell you something unless it's happened 4 or 5 times. What happened here in America means what's happening in the world. I say this every week, but we're not going for it. We're not going for other people designing our life. The immigrant community is a good community. They came here to join America, become part of America. The African American community, especially in the old days, accepted Islam to become a better person, but to change America. Isn't that right? All of us don't like America. Anybody that like America, raise your hand if you like it. It's okay. Any Negro in here like America, the way they treat us? One of the brothers said the other day, I don't know, is it true that that case in Florida, that they found the police guilty of shooting a Negro and they awarded the family how much money?
It was $1 a piece, one for his mother, $1 for his 3 children, but then they reduced it.
They reduced it from $1 a piece to how much?
1 cent.
1 cent?
A piece.
And
They said
2,000.
1%.
Is that making fun of a nigga? Tell the truth. They awarded, after killing his family of 4, they awarded them $1 a piece. Then they said, that's too extravagant. We're going to give you niggas 1 penny apiece for killing your brother, father, whoever it was. Right? And it hasn't changed. How many police you seen go to penitentiary or get hung for killing a nigger? I mean, we got to stand up for ourselves. These Negroes here had a conference focusing on social invisibility. Here's what happened. In the old days, oh, it was so much fun. The young immigrant brothers, especially for us, it was the Pakistani crew that was the friendliest. All our literature came from Pakistan. I got shalwar kameez on right now. You notice the food at hot days is almost. So we had a special love for Pakistan and all that. Maulana Maududi was from Pakistan. The Islamic movement has shifted from Ikhwan al-Muslimin in Egypt and Syria to Jum'ah Islami in Pakistan. So, yeah, 80, 81, I was the most famous Negro on the circuit. And we used to all hang in the masjid. They didn't have no masjid like this. Boy, it was apartments, houses, and all of that. But it was a wonderful feeling. The MSA began to gain power, and everybody related to black people, because people from overseas were just shocked to come here and find people who were Muslims on their own. And all the questions were, you a Muslim? Yes. You know al-Faqih? They just stopped that a few years ago. Anybody have, you know al-Faqih? Sure. You fast in Ramadan? My 20th year, yes. You read Quran? Yes. You don't read Arabic. What you want me to read? Just having fun. They were shocked. It was a wonderful feeling, I'm telling you. But I'm going to speed up. As time went on, the African American community that was strong and vibrant, its ideas was to change America. It was the new civil rights movement. Let me explain what happened. We had civil rights, Martin Luther King, Black Power, and Malcolm X and all of them. Then BLA, Black Liberation Army, Sekou Dinga and all of them. And Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture and them. Then it evolved to Islam. Yeah, remember? Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, semi-kind of Muslim, not that. But Imam Jamil, 100% strong on the Sunnah. Sekou Dinga now, not just a name now. Sunni Muslims. The last poets and all those people, you remember? All good Muslims, strong on the Sunnah. I'm going to speed up. As time went on, the government infiltrated the black movement so much that it weakened the fiber of the Islamic movement. And as time is going on, the immigrant community, MSA, Muslim Student Association, becomes ISNA, and pretty soon we have ICNA that comes from Pakistan, and Maulana Maududi was here in '72. You know who he met with? The Negroes. And when he went back to Pakistan, he said the future of Islam is with the Negroes. Do you know what the Negro did? Make a long story short. It's what Sherman Jackson said over at Howard. Was that last year? He said the Negro turned in the white man and accepted the immigrant as his new. So now the immigrant community controls the flow of Islam. Who speaks, who's welcome, and who's not welcome. Yours truly, you haven't seen for years. in 1983, 82 and a half, when I refused their, what's the names? Look at the calendar. Up pops so-and-so, good friend of mine. But he becomes the spokesman who sings in tune. All other Negroes sang in tune too. That's why the black movement has lost, that's why the Negroes feel invisible. They used to be in the front seat. They voluntarily went in the back seat. And who did they follow? They follow the immigrant community that don't know a damn thing about what to do in America. Nothing. But they got all the money and all the power. And now when you turn on TV, they got the Muslims show on there. And they got people talking about America that are so afraid, it's unbelievable. You and I, at least I ain't, you can do what you want. We ain't going for it. No, indeed. Their social invisibility, they almost deserve it because, like Sherman Jackson said, Zayd Shaka was there too. They gave up the leadership of the Islamic movement because they felt inferior to immigrants. That immigrants are born Muslim, therefore they know more. That is absolutely not true. An immigrant that comes here as a Muslim is just like a Christian going up and down the street. They know the same thing about Islam as the niggas go out there in Christianity. Every Passover, 10 Commandments come on, right? And that's Charleston Heston. Every other holiday has the greatest story ever told. And in Christmas, everybody know the three wise men, right? That's the way the Muslims are about Eid. They're having Eid. And da-da-da-da-da. And they getting ready to party. Overseas, they have, like they have Christmas sales, they have Eid sales, they have all of that stuff over there. Don't talk about the Arab countries and the Gulf. Shoot, them boys switch the whole thing around. All night is poetry and partying. And guess what? They sleep all day. When they wake up, it's time for iftar. And the food they eat, now we eat pretty good here. You think you can't touch them boys. You get a Saudi and you in a iftar eating contest, they'll knock you over and stand up and pray 21 rakats of Taraweeh without batting an eye. If I ate 1/10 of what they eat and I had to go to sleep. They're professionals and they gain weight. In Egypt, the newspapers every year, we've ordered 35% more food. For what? For Ramadan. I got friends that gain weight during Ramadan. Many of them. And that shahud, some of the brothers here take a shahud. It's a good God, man. We have pretty good food. I mean, it's a little heavy, tell the truth. The food is this stuff. The good food too, you ask anybody. But brothers will knock over deuce plates. And then take one maximum that you got to hold with both hands for shahur. Good God, man. That's just like having 2 meals a day, breakfast and dinner, but each one of them, you eating 10 pounds of food plus. Now that's our brothers. Now we good fasters. Our brothers here is serious. Brothers do a little exercise, go to work, all that stuff. I don't know how they do it. I'm not talking about y'all. I don't know how the immigrant community, I've been at iftars before. us all over the world. Remember what the subject is today. You shall surely travel from stage to stage. I'm going to go on and move toward a close, but here's our message. We got a lot to do. We have to reemerge and put the real feeling of Islam back in Islam. I was just looking at the paper today. It said, before Marlon Brando and Waterfront. Does anybody remember Waterfront, the movie Waterfront? Marlon Brando might have been 51 or 52. Do you remember Marlon Brando is sitting in the back of the car with the gangster? And Marlon Brando is saying, I could have been a contender. Does anybody remember that? Right. Remember that? I could have been a contender. That means he had joined with these people that had him throw a fight. And the rest of his life, he should remember, I could have been a contender for the championship. I could have been a champion. But I sold my opportunity. That's why the Negro is feeling invisible and inferior, because he sold his opportunity, his birthright. Being born and bred here in America. Don't let nobody tell you about how bad they had it. There ain't nobody in the world, Jews and all of that, nobody had it worse than the Negro in America. In colonialism, the British, the French, they were there, but you knew where your family came from. You knew your history, you knew your culture. You kept your language, you kept your courage and all of that, isn't that right? You were brainwashed into thinking that the white man, the British, were better, but you at least knew. One of my friends, when I was in East Africa, actually he was from Somalia, he said, we used to hustle together. I used to call him Congo Slim, because long story. But he says, tell me about your family. I said, shoot, I got it good. I know way back to 1800. And he was a hustler. He says, I know my family history back 30 generations. Now, he was a hustler. He says, everybody else that are religious in my family, they know our history 60 generations. There are Africans and the Arabs right here, probably in this room, know their history back 10, 15 generations just sitting around the house. Isn't that right? They know where they came from, their grandfather, great, they just know that. That's not true of you and I. The only people in the world that came to a country and got their language, their culture, and their religion, everything that made them a human being, stolen from them. We got people, one of them old phony, do some cotton swab, and my daughter did one, where it came from. You know. And I mean, I got pictures I might have showed you of my grandmother. My grandmother was half Indian, so I mean, my mother was 1/4 and I'm 1/8. And it said, you're 46% Nigerian. Talking about my daughter, and so many percent Kenyan, and such Central American Indian. I said, that's stupid. I said, my grandmother wasn't no Central American Indian. She was from right here, Arkansas and Oklahoma. They was in the Trail of Tears, come from the Cheyenne and all them people that walked across, you know, y'all heard about the Trail of Tears. Said, ain't nobody believe that dumb stuff. But imagine, no language, no culture, no religion. You know, when people come here to America, they look at you, you know what they think? Man, them people is messed up. Why they don't have no businesses? Why they don't have this? Why they don't have, you know what they think? They tell the truth. People who think that, you know why? Because it was stolen from you. You don't have to tell no Korean, you got to take care of your wife and children and you got to do this. Everybody know that, isn't that right? They don't even have to teach that. But if your language, your culture, and your religion is taken from you, and the one that hates you and enslaves you teaches everything you know, you wonder why we effed up? Because the cracker taught us everything we know. Tell the truth. What it is this good hair or bad hair? Tell the truth now. This is who? This is good hair. You're a martyr. Older brothers, what is this? Tell the truth. In our time, this is bad hair, isn't it right? What about this pigmentation? Is it nice? You like this? Huh? You like this? How many of y'all like it? You ever heard, if you're white, you're all right? Anybody ever heard that? If you're yellow, you're mellow. You heard that? If you're brown, stick around. But if you're black, what?
Get back.
Get back, of course. Good God Almighty. Can you imagine if people have sayings like that about themselves? And they wonder why, when I heard the teachings of the Nation of Islam, I was just a young guy, but it said, the blacker you are, the better you are. The white man is the devil, and he's ugly, and he's sticky. I said, I like that religion. So that's a good religion there. That was 1963, though. That was before consciousness. And then we come back to Islam after all of that. You know, Middle Passage, you don't know how many millions of people jumped off them boats not to come here. And if we come here and sit down on a job, and after all of that, 45% of us, 35 somewhere, were Muslims before we, and look, we done came back to Islam. We have survived more than any brutality anybody didn't survive. Physical brutality, psychological brutality. Out of all of that funk, what is the best culture improvements in America? They said the only real music in America is jazz and all that, right? Everybody wanted to copy. I don't know about all this new rap. Not good old rap was good. It was revolutionary. But this hip hop. Do you know what they did with hip hop? I just don't. I'm not gonna change the subject. Professor Griffin and all of them. In the 80s, boy, that was good. But you know what their mistake was? Pawns in the Game, Zionist Connection, one of the best-selling albums. In 89, y'all remember? It wasn't but 2 minutes they got through. You ain't heard of Professor Griff since then. Maybe every now and then, right? Because he was anti-Zionist. They got rid of all the good brothers, and who did they bring in? Kill that bitch, shoot that nigga, blow up that nigga, right? And that's all you hear now. They got rid of the good stuff and brought in that SHIT. Didn't they? Tell the truth, right in front of our eyes. And everybody ain't stopped. I'm telling you. Okay. We're not putting up with it. That's all I can say. This go around. Now we already got a track record. And I close with this. Everybody that drank the Kool-Aid but us. That sounds horrible to say that, but it's true. Everybody done sold themselves but us. So it's our job, our job, right here. Not Dar al-Hijra, not nowhere else. You can't find no masjid in the United States that's got any backbone or act like it. Now, if you do, just raise your hand or give it a name. I want to go meet them. So it's our job not only to rescue me and you, but the whole America. You remember our favorite ayats, our mission is to rescue America from itself, to help make the world a good place to live. And if we don't do it here in America, can't nobody else do it, because America is keeping everybody else fighting and selling them weapons, right? So we got to stop this fool here. Now we got a lot of help now. We got Don in there as a big chief now. He's driving America down as fast as he can. And so we got help in the White House. Yes, we do. We got more help. Look at here. You ain't never seen no bigger fool as that. Hey man, it's wonderful. We got all the help we need. All we got to do, stick to that Quran. Figure out what is my purpose in life. Ask yourself, why did I come to Islam anyway? What can I do to make the world a better place? If I don't do something to help, how long will the earth last like it is now? Now the earth's gonna be here, but these fools messing up so bad, the earth will shake you off of it. Yes, it will. It'll drown you in one area and burn your butt up in another. The earth is a living organism, and a living organism does not let a pest take over. The human being now is not the Khalifa on earth, he's a pest. He's messing everything up. And the earth gonna scratch him till he get rid of it. If we don't straighten up in a hurry, don't worry. You'll be drowning here and burning up over there. Right? The earth will shake your behind off of it. Yes, it will. The earth is 4.5 billion years old, and it's got another, what they say, another 4.5 billion years ago. Do you know how many changes the earth has been through since it's been? So a couple of 100 years of shaking off niggas and white folks ain't gonna, the earth said, I'm getting rid of these bums. The earth is a living organism. We better help the earth, or the earth gonna finish your behind off by itself, because it's natural. Hey man, they done stunk up the ocean. This place used to be clean, right? My air used to be fresh. Now look at these niggas. Well, white folks done stunk up the air. Well, okay. How about a couple of, we'll call in a couple of meteor strikes, maybe about a block long. If a meteor hit the ocean, if it's big as a block, it'll make a tidal wave about 200-300 feet, right? If it's the Atlantic Ocean, it'll drown everybody back to West Virginia, right? Right? And if it's California, it'll drown everybody back to Arizona, except the people up on Mount Shasta, right? I'm telling you, we better straighten up and be Allah's Khalifa, or the shaitan gonna finish the job. And I know he's got more help. He's got all the help in the world except Allah. Taskiyah bil-nafs. Turn to Allah and let's do our job. You'll have fun doing it. I'm gonna close with this, don't worry. I swear I was gonna be an hour, hour and a half, something. I wasn't gonna be 2 hours. I'm not gonna do that. If you like doing this job, after a while, you won't even be scared. When you first get started, the old white man gonna come out and boo, nigga, boo, he gonna say scared. Now you might be scared. If you stick long enough, pretty soon, what if somebody, you walk out the house and somebody behind the bush said boo first, and they say, oh my God. But suppose they do that every day. After a while, say, nigga, man, I got somewhere to go. I'm tired of you hollering boo every time. Ain't you got nothing else to get a life, man? Talking about boo, but hollering the same way you feel the American government. You fight it long enough, it becomes insignificant. You lose your fear of it. And you can do that. O Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. We seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice us with what is lawful. Keep from us what is prohibited. With thy grace, make us free from want of what is besides thee. Ameen.